Hey, Judy. I don't know if you saw the last stream or not, the last live, but the knives came, Judy. Thank you for that. I was talking about them in the last live. All right, we're just going to wait for a couple more people to jump on, guys. I have sent out the aprons, so if you want an apron, I already mailed them. I mailed them like last week, I think, so they should be getting to you. If you did not win an apron and you want an apron, they are $30, but that includes shipping to your location as long as you're in the United States, okay? They're a nice heavy-duty apron. I was noticing how heavy-duty they are compared to the other one that my brother had bought for me. Was a little on the thinner side. So these are well made, you guys. And stick around because we're going to talk about all the oils and healthy fats and how to choose which ones to buy, which ones to cook with, which ones not to. That's all coming up. So stick around for all that, okay? I'm back to the old stand because for whatever reason I can't get it to let me stream in landscape mode. So I've got some figuring out to do, guys. Hey, Carissa, you made it! You must have set a little reminder, huh? I'm glad you're on. I'm going to grab the meat, guys. I'll be back in just a second here. Just got to grab it from the sink. So tonight we are making pork chops. They are, I call them pork chop bites because I cut mine into little pieces. You wouldn't necessarily have to. I do because I have little kids and I have to cut them anyway. So I figure why not cut them before I cook them so they cook even faster. And I get to use my new knives. All right. I'm so glad you guys are on with me. This is great. So anyway, like I was saying, if you want one of these aprons, you didn't win one, they're $30. You can email me at abhomestead22@gmail.com. I will put that down below in the description box after this live, so you guys know exactly where to email to get one of these. And that price is including shipping, okay? All right, on with the cooking. I'm going to preheat my skillet on the back here. Medium heat. And I'm going to add about, let's see, probably 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm always very generous with my butter, so some of my recipes say like 1 tablespoon, but I never cook with just 1 tablespoon of fat. All right. So I'm going to do 3 tablespoons, guys. And then on to chopping the pork chops. Like I said, you could cook them whole. But I'm going to chop them up because I'm going to have to anyway with my kids, and I just like to save a step. And they cook a lot faster when you chop them. This meal is really, really good. This actually tastes like Chinese food. If you were to ferment some rice and then cook the rice separately and put this on top, it would be absolutely divine. So we're just going to keep on cutting here. And just a reminder, we do have on Thursday night at 7 o'clock this week, we do have the live budgeting / meal planning class that I'm going to be putting on at 7 p.m. this Thursday. So if you haven't gone over to that pre-scheduled event, make sure you do that and click the remind me button so you don't forget. I've got tons of awesome information comparing the same 7 meals, 100% processed, and then 100% non-organic, 50% organic, and 100% organic, and the costs on each one of those levels for the food, along with tips on how to save money on each level. So it should be a really informative little class. Should be a lot of fun. I just go ahead and chop the fat as well because, well, the fat's good for you. This came from a nice little pastured pig who had a happy life and made happy fat, so I don't mind my family eating it. If I was buying one that maybe wasn't off the pasture, I would recommend trimming the fat. Animals store their toxins, including us, in our fat. We store our toxins in our fat, and so do animals. So when you're considering where to spend maybe a little bit extra money, definitely fats are one. But also, if you're going to be buying non-organic meat, you're going to want to trim the fat off. All right, there's a first bone for a dog. So I used to work at a vet hospital, so I'm going to give you guys sound advice. If you have a dog, they can eat raw bones. They're completely safe to feed to your dogs. Cooked bones are completely safe to feed to your dogs as long as the beef bones have been cooked for at least 48 hours and the chicken ones are cooked for at least 12. Where you get into trouble is when you feed your animals bones that have only been cooked, like roasted in the oven or barbecued. That's when you get into trouble. Those are the type of bones that splinter and cause issues within the dog's stomach, but raw bones are perfectly safe. Although this one has a little bit of marrow in it, so I actually might cook it up and eat it. I did last time. The kids were kind of jealous. I got the only piece that had bone marrow in it. I'm going to wash my hands and check comments because something just popped up, but I couldn't read it fast enough. Skillet is preheating here. All right, comments are, whoops. Hello everyone, birthday woman Carissa Finley. The photo you showed as if all pictures always look impressive, then maybe the fat is where it's at. Yeah. The fat is the awesome part for sure. So we've got the butter melted in that back pan over there. And so I'm going to switch over to my garlic here in just a second because we want to start sauteing the garlic before we add the pork. Now, if you are concerned about pork, the best way to handle that is to go ahead and marinate the pork ahead of time. I did not do that this time. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. You can find just a simple pork marinade recipe pretty much anywhere and just marinate it in your fridge for at least 12 hours. 24 is even better. And that will help the pork be more available and digestible for your body. I didn't have time. I had a lot of stuff going on today. I was digging potatoes in a row just to see where we're at with potatoes and planting stuff for my fall garden in my greenhouse. Because I had a friend text me and say, hey, what do you do for a fall garden? And I thought, oh no, it's already time for that. So, I had a busy day. Oh, and then when I was inside the greenhouse, a mother hen came over with her 3 chicks that apparently she hatched out in the wilderness somewhere. So that was fun. I do still have 2 other hens on nests on the farm that I know about, but this one I didn't know about, so it was like a little surprise. And at first I was just going to let them like fend to themselves because I was pretty sure that's what my husband was going to say, was like, don't baby them, let her take care of them. Let her do her due diligence, and if they die, it's okay. Like, they're just extra chickens anyway. But I was wrong. He called and I told him about them, and he's like, you're going to leave them out there? And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to let the mama hen do what mama hens do. And he said, no, she needs to go in the brooder. Put her in the brooder. Those are free chickens. And I thought, oh. Have you not counted how many chickens we have here? We have a lot. So if anybody wants chicks and you're within driving distance, let me know, because I've got extra for sure. It would be a barnyard mix for sure. Egg-laying breeds. All right, so I chopped up 3 garlic cloves. If you like a lot of garlic, go ahead and load it in. This is kind of a you get to choose meal. As far as flavor, you're going to be having garlic, butter, and honey. That's going to be kind of drizzled over the top of them. It's a very, very flavorful dish. And like I said, I'm chopping them into little chunks so they cook really, really quickly, which is great. And yeah, that's what's going on. So that was pretty much my day. And then we were cleaning the house, you know, normal mom stuff. And getting the kids to pick up after themselves. I had to have that mom conversation where you go, you know, I didn't make any of this mess and I'm the one picking it up, so you guys sure could help. You really could. Nevaeh, my other daughter, I don't know if you guys have seen her yet, but anyway, she's a very avid reader. And it's getting to a point now where it's become such an addiction that it's getting her into trouble because she is reading when she should be doing something else. So, that's been an interesting problem to have. Compared to her sister, which she likes to read, but not as much as Nevaeh. She'd rather be outside. So she usually jumps on chores and such, whereas Nevaeh, you'll ask her to go do a chore, and then she'll just kind of sit there with her book for a minute, and then she goes, and then you're like, okay, Nevaeh, I asked you to do something, and she'll say, but Mom, I have 3 more pages of this chapter, I just gotta finish it. So, anyway. So we wait. So I'm making a big portion of this, and this was 3 really, really large pork chops. And it's just me and the kids tonight, but you know how I do it, I always double this. So I'm going to get these into the pan here in just a second. The garlic toasting just smells amazing in here. All right. In goes the pork chop. And like I said, this does not take long at all to cook because they are little tiny bites. So I'm just going to let that cook for a little bit. I can't wait to talk about fats. That was, somebody had emailed me and asked me to talk about oils and different fats and why you should cook a certain one. So we're going to do that tonight after I get dinner going here. These knives are so nice, Judy. I don't know if you're still watching, but the little knife block has a little sharpener in it too. So if at any point I am feeling like my knife is dull, I can just go wash it and come over here to the block and sharpen it. So that'll be nice. I'm excited for that. It was supposed to rain today, but I don't think it's going to. They keep saying it's going to, and then they take it away, so I'm guessing not. So I'm just going to let those saute, and then we're going to cook them over here in a minute, and we'll season them with a little bit of garlic powder. But not until they're cooked on one side. I've found that if you can chop a steak up into little bites as well and cook it this way, so it's not exposed to the heat so long, those are also very, very tender. To take it up another notch, you could marinate the pork chops or the steak ahead of time, and that really, and then cut it into little cubes. And it cooks up really fast, and it's a lot more moist than a whole steak. We're going to have to see if Julie gets on tonight or if she's going to miss again. If you're on here, Julie, comment. Julie has missed a lot of lives lately, and the last one was because she had to work, which I understand. Our giveaway was so much fun, you guys. That was just a blast. I really enjoyed that time with you guys. And our channel continues to grow. We're like just under 1,100. So we've gained almost 100 people since the giveaway, which is amazing. All right, I'm finally done cutting, guys. I'm going to wash my hands. All right. So the meat is brown on the one side. It's kind of toasty. I'll bring it closer. And it's brown on the one side, so I'm just going to go ahead and flip it on over. Okay, now to the top of the pork, I'm going to go ahead and take some garlic granules. You could use garlic powder as well. And there's really no measurement, so I guess I could measure it for you guys. Usually I just sprinkle it, but I'll measure it today. This is a teaspoon, let's see. I'm gonna say 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons of garlic powder or garlic granules. And then we're just gonna sprinkle it with salt, guys. You want healthy salt, pink Himalayan salts, Celtic sea salts, all the good salts. This is the real salt brand. You want one of those salts, so we're not depriving our body to use them. So we're gonna let the other side cook. Now, meanwhile, I have this pan back here and it's empty. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cook the pork chops, and then in this pan, we're going to melt some butter and some honey together. And when they get done cooking, they're going to go into this pan, which will kind of like toss it around in the yummy sauce right before we serve it. So we're going to go ahead. How many tablespoons do I have left here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to put 6 tablespoons in there. Now, mind you, I have a lot of meat here. I had, I think, 8 pork chops. So if you have less than that, you're going to want to do less than, how many did I say? 6? Hang on, I'll measure it for you. Less than 6 tablespoons of butter. So I'm going to go ahead and put these 6 tablespoons of butter in the pan over a low heat. We don't want that to brown. We don't want that to simmer. We just want it to melt. And then I'm going to add what I'm going to approximate as about 1/4 cup of honey. Now, if you wanted to serve this over rice, I would increase the honey amount and the butter amount, and then use a thickener with a whisk to make it into a creamy sauce. You could also add maybe like a little bit of milk. That would turn it into a creamy sauce. We're just going to use this as our main dish and do vegetables as a side. So we're going to skip the rice for tonight. But if you're going for an authentic Chinese cuisine at home, you could do the same process, but I would go ahead and double the butter and double the honey. Maybe add a little bit of broth or a little bit of milk, and then use like cornstarch or arrowroot powder or cassava flour to thicken that up as a gravy, and then add these in, okay? I missed a comment, hang on. About the knives, you're so welcome. Where you lived in California long ago needs your prayers. Yes, I heard that they are fighting fires where I used to live. I have not been brave enough to look and see exactly how close it is to my old house, but I have heard that. All right, these are almost done because the pork chops are white. That's what we're looking for, is white on the pork chops. When you've got tiny little bites, it's not worth sticking a thermometer in them to see if they temp to the proper temperature, because they're just too small to get an accurate reading. So I just wait until they're white, and then we're going to move them over to the other pan where they get to bask in their little honey and butter heaven and get nice and tasty. We're almost there on these. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle them one more time with the garlic granules. Maybe I'm going to measure it. I learned from a cook that did not measure anything, and it really annoyed me. So I'm trying not to be that cook. I'm going to say about 1.5 teaspoons on the second time of garlic powder. And then those are going to go right into the other thing there. That's how easy this meal is. I'm going to go grab my green beans from my steaming pot. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Hopefully nobody left. I'm still here. I don't have any beans yet for my garden, so I'm relying on Azure standards still for frozen green beans. All right, I'm going to move these to their little heavenly destination over here. And I just had this pan on like a 2 out of 10. you know, very, very low heat. We're just wanting to melt the honey and the butter together and keep that meat warm and the sauce runny so that we can kind of toss the meat right before you put it on someone's plate. Okay. Okay, how much honey? I think I said a quarter cup. Quarter cup of honey, Judy. Glad to see you use garlic powder, not garlic salt. Yeah, because garlic salt would have yucky salt in it. Carissa says, I'm terrible with measuring while cooking. My hubby hates it when I make something really good because I can. Yeah, I know. That's the problem, is that if you don't measure stuff, you'll never be able to replicate it. I do the same thing, and it frustrates me because I'm like, oh, it's so good that one time, but can't get it back because I didn't measure it. All right, I'm gonna move my cutting board out of here, guys. I'll be right back. Hang on. Okay, so this is a new batch of the pork, so we're going to do the same thing to it. A sprinkle of healthy salt. And 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, or garlic granules, whichever one you want to use. This is a granule. And it's off and cooking, guys. I'm going to get a lid for my back pot over here that I'm using to steam my vegetables. All right. And stuff is melting, so there you go. All right, so while that's cooking, we're going to talk about our recipe for next week. This is such an easy recipe, the one we did today. And like I said, you could make that sauce, so if you choose to serve it over rice, that would be amazing over rice. Okay, so next week is it already? It's already going to be August. That's crazy. Cooking is way different from baking. Hang on. Oops. Give me my comments. Okay, cooking is way different from baking. Baking needs a scale. Cooking is a little different. It's true. Unless you want the same results every time. So next week we're going to be making empanadas. So this is like very much the same process as when we made the pizza pockets. So you're going to need a recipe for the, let's see, hang on. You're going to need a recipe for the tortillas. And it's going to be the same process as the pizza pockets. So let me find that recipe here real quick. So for sprouted tortillas, you're going to need 2.5 cups of sprouted wheat flour, which you could buy that at the grocery store. Some grocery stores carry it. 2 teaspoons of healthy salt. You're going to need at least 1/4 cup of your choice of healthy fat. So duck fat, goose fat, tallow, lard, coconut oil, or butter. I always use lard with all of my empanadas, all of my pizza pockets, and all of my tortillas in general. I just like the way it performs. And then just water. So that's for sprouted tortillas. Sourdough tortillas. Let me see if I can find that recipe. Sourdough tortillas is 2 cups of sourdough starter. I'm going to flip our meal over here, guys. And then we'll finish reading the sourdough option. Okay, those have been flipped, so what do? We add more garlic. Another 1.5 teaspoons of garlic powder or salt going on the top. 1.5 teaspoons. And then some salt, sprinkle some salt. Garlic powder or garlic granules is what I meant to say. Okay, now back to the recipe. So the other option is for you to make sourdough tortillas. You would need 2 cups of sourdough starter, 1.5 cups of water, 1/2 cup of healthy fat, healthy salt, and 3 teaspoons of healthy salt, and then 6 cups of flour. You would need that together, let it sit for your recommended time for your specific starter, anywhere from 7 to 12 hours, sometimes even longer, depending on how fast your starter works. And those will be ready for the empanadas. Now, for the inside, of the empanadas. Hang on. Usually I use ground beef, but you sure could use, if you have like a roast or something that's been cooked up already, you could totally use that. 1 pound, either way, of whatever type of meat you want to use. You could use chicken too if you wanted to. You're going to need an onion, a bell pepper, which you could use red or green or both, cumin, garlic that's minced, salt and pepper, chili powder, and 1 cup of cheese. I've also added like things like green chilies and stuff to the inside of those pockets. Those are really good. Last time I accidentally thought I was doing a green chili, but it was actually a really spicy salsa prepper from my garden. And that was a big kick for the kids. We'll say it that way. There were some mouths on fire. And some sentences like, Mom, what did you put in these? Yeah. Did you put jalapenos in this? It's okay, kids. Mom's just trying to burn your little taste buds right off your tongue. All right, I'm flipping these again. And then they're almost going to be ready to go in here. So your meal is almost done, just like that. If I could have the thickener, I would make this with a thickener and I would put it over top of green beans even. That would be really good. It would almost give it like a stir fry type of feel. Very good. Okay. So while this is finishing cooking, we're going to talk about healthy fats. Because I'm good at multitasking for the most part. All right, Jackie. Happy birthday, Crystal. Sorry I am late, but I was at a friend's house canning peaches. Oh, yum. Thank you for the apron. My friend took a picture of me with the peaches wearing the most beautiful apron. Oh, that's really nice. I'm so glad you got it. There was honestly, because it was Jackie and it was Kathy that won the aprons that I had to ship out, and then Samantha was local, but I put you guys' ad, like I packaged them at the post office and like slapped pre-made address, like labels that I had made on the packages and like mailed them. And then there was like this moment into the car like, oh my gosh, did I mail those to the right address or did I switch them? Because Kathy bought an extra one and so I couldn't. But then I was thinking about it, I was like, no, I shipped them to the right address, so we were okay. Okay, so I had some questions come to me via email that we're going to discuss about fats. I've been wanting to get into this, and the last time I tried to talk about this, I think I had some goslings that were hatching, and I think we ended up not talking about it because I think I got interrupted by a gosling like currently hatching out of its egg right in the middle of my sentence. So we're going to talk about healthy fats, specifically liquid oils, specifically olive oil. As soon as I get the picture in my email, I will send it to you. I'd love to see you in it, Jackie. I've actually never seen a picture of you or Kathy. I'd love to know who I'm talking to. Ghee, is lard in store okay? Happy birthday. Thanks, Rhonda. So ghee is a great item for someone who's specifically like lactose intolerant, and I love it because I can can it up and put it on the shelf. These are done, so I'm going to move them to the little butter honey heaven over here. I don't use a lot of ghee because I just reach for butter. But there's nothing wrong with ghee, that's for sure. Especially if someone's a little bit dairy intolerant, sometimes they can handle ghee, which is a great option. Okay, this is off, this is on. This is on and still melting, almost melted. Perfect. All right, I'm going to show you guys this really quick, and then we're going to talk about fats, okay? So this is what you're serving for dinner. So I would just, stir it up from the bottom so it's got lots of sauce on it right before you put it on people's plates, okay? So that's that. That's going to sit over just a really low simmer and stay warm for me while we talk about fats. Okay, so the question was ghee. Yes, that's great. Hang on, Rhonda, I'm getting back to it. If it'll give me your comment. I'm trying to be loving, okay? I'm trying to be loving, YouTube. Is lard in store okay? So lard when sourcing, that's actually on my list. So let me get to that page so I make sure I say everything I want to say about lard. So when sourcing lard and tallow, goose fat, duck fat, you need to know your source. And the reason why is because, just like I talked about earlier, if you're eating from animals that were highly stressed and were exposed to a lot of toxins, those toxins are going to be stored in the fat, which is what you're eating. So just make sure that it has all the good stuff on the label, like pastured, that's awesome, non-GMO or organic, even more awesome. And then if you're like buying it from a farmer's market, don't be afraid to ask that farmer, where was this pig, what did it eat, and was it a happy pig in the sun and making happy lard for me to consume, or is this not so good lard that maybe I could purchase something a little bit better? Okay, said I had a new comment, but I don't see one. So, all right. So yeah, so if you can find a farmer, that would be optimal. A lot of times people don't really know about lard, or they don't know how to cook with lard, so they will pay for an entire pig or sometimes even a cow, and they don't want the fat. And that farmer sometimes will talk with the butcher and keep it in like little packages inside their freezer, and then they can sell that to you. And they sell it at a really great price, usually because it's something they have to do. It's really, really simple to make both tallow and lard and render it yourself. I do have a video on how to do that. It's really simple, guys. It's like a crock pot or a large roaster on low for a certain amount of time, and you strain off the stuff that melts out. That's what your lard is. It's super easy. That's what tallow is. It's how you render either one of those. Okay. So ultimately, you would buy lard and tallow from a farmer if you can source that. If you don't know anyone around you who does this and you need help sourcing this sort of thing for any of the stuff I'm going to talk about tonight, if you go to www.westinaprice.org and then you scroll down and you click on Find Food, and you click it, it will have a list of all the Weston A. Price chapters in the entire United States, and it's their job to have a resource list of places and farmers in your area that would be selling this type of product. So if you feel like you're in an island or you just moved somewhere new and you don't know anybody, that's a really great resource. Once again, that's westinaprice.org, and then scroll down and click Find Food, okay? So that would be optimal. If you can't find one local to you, you could buy it online or in a store. Just make sure you ask the questions if it's not already on the label. Where was this pig? You know, it's kind of like the difference between eggs. Like when you go to buy eggs and there's like cage-free, but all of the chickens are in a tiny confinement without cages. So it's like not really that much different than being in a cage. So you just have to really make sure that we're smart and we ask the right questions as far as how was that pig treated? How was that cow treated? Were they out in the sunshine on grass? Did they live a happy life? Or maybe not so much. So just check your sources. And you can email companies. If you see their product online and you're wondering those questions, you can email them and ask them those things. There's nothing wrong with that, and you won't be the only one who's ever asked those questions. Okay, I think that was all of your question, but let me just double check Rhonda because I don't want to miss anything. Okay, happy birthday. Thanks, Rhonda. I'm a beautiful young brunette. Ha ha ha, that was 50 years ago. Jackie, I also asked if the animals eat anything other than grass. Yeah. Did it get growth hormones? Good one. Antibiotics. Do they spray their fields? Were they fed GMO crops? Were they fed non-GMO crops that maybe were sprayed? Because that is something that a lot of people are not aware of, which is things like wheat, that it says non-GMO on the label. It's just a convenience for the farmer to have their entire field dried off all at once so they can harvest all at once and be done, because different areas of the field have maybe water sitting in them, and so those plants haven't died yet and haven't dried out yet, or maybe they sprouted later and so they're technically not ready to harvest yet. So what ends up happening is somebody got this brilliant idea that I will grow non-GMO corn, wheat, all of that stuff, and right before I want to harvest, when most of it's already dried, I will go ahead and spray my whole field, and that will kill, with glyphosate, guys, that will kill all the non-GMO vegetation, which is all of your wheat and everything else. So they spray it, it dies, and then they harvest it, and then they give it to you in the form of cereal and pasta and all sorts of things. And that wheat does not get washed again before you consume it. So just be very, very careful when you buy non-GMO grains. But yes, it's a very good idea to ask, what did that pig get fed? Because it does make a difference. If they're grass-fed and corn finished, they're going to have a ton more fat, but was that corn sprayed? You see what I'm saying? So you have to do what's good for your family and what you can afford, but if you can ask those questions and buy the best product you can for your money, it's so worth it. Okay, so then on to the next fat, which was liquid oils. So specifically avocado oil. So this was a very interesting topic, and I have lots of notes because I had everything around in my brain, and then I also went to the World Wide Web, and researched it, so you guys don't have to. So avocado oil is actually considered a vegetable oil. I use it when I go to make mayonnaise. I never, ever cook with avocado oil, and I will tell you why. I only use it for mayonnaise. I will use olive oil for dressings, like salad dressings, and then avocado oil when I go to make my mayonnaise. I just can't get over the taste of olive oil in a mayonnaise, so I always use the avocado oil. But basically, avocado oil and olive oil are pretty much the same makeup when it comes to the type of fat they are. I even wrote down all of this too, guys. You guys are going to get a full education tonight. So fats can be one of three things. First thing is a saturated fat. So saturated fats are the fats I talk about all the time here and absolutely love. They usually come from animals or like coconut oil. It's a semi-solid at room temperature. So butter, coconut oil, lard, tallow, goose fat, duck fat. What am I missing? I don't know. I guess ghee, but that's technically butter. So the things that are semi-solid, sitting on your counter, not liquid but not solid, those are saturated fats. The reason why they're called saturated fats is because they have carbon bonds that are occupied by a hydrogen atom. So they are like matched together, like a match made in heaven. And so those are highly stable. So you can heat with them, bake with them, fry with them, do whatever you want with them without them going rancid in the process, okay? Because they have their matched up pair. So saturated fats are happy fats that are married with their life partner and are not going to give your body any damage, okay? Those are the good fats. The next step down will be a monosaturated fat. The monosaturated fat has two carbons, but it's lacking the other two hydrogens. So it's lacking its soulmate, okay? And so it's a mad fat, okay? So it's not as stable, okay? These are liquids at room temperatures. So they're relatively stable, but they do go rancid rather easily. So we don't really want to cook with these. It's olive oil, avocado oil, peanuts, cashews, pecan, almond oil. All of those sorts of oils are all monosaturated fats. They are all liquids at room temperature, and they should never be used for cooking, okay? You can use them in dressings just fine. But when you go to heat those up, because they're missing their little soulmate to make them perfectly happy and nourishing, they are angry oils, okay? But then the most angry oil is your polyunsaturated fats. They have two or more missing at least four or more partners. So we've got a lot of angry people up in here on these polyunsaturated fats. They are highly unstable, you guys. They remain a liquid even when you throw them inside the refrigerator. They go rancid extremely easy, and you never, ever want to use those for cooking. If you had to use avocado oil for cooking now and then, that's not the end of the world, but definitely not polyunsaturated fats. It's just a whole lot of angry atoms in there that you don't need inside your body, okay? Okay, I'm going to rewind now. Hope you guys are taking notes, and I hope I'm not going too quickly. Somebody comment if I'm going too quickly and tell me to slow down. Okay. I didn't miss any other things. Okay. So when it comes to avocado oil is higher in polyunsaturated fats, which is one of the unhappy unmarried couples, but not quite to the extent of your very, very angry, because it's It's not very much. It's like 12%, I believe, if I remember right. So that's why I don't use it for cooking, because 12% of it is not happy. The other reason why I don't use it is because there's actually been studies out of India indicating that avocado oil contains something called a genotoxin, which has been linked to causing damage within the human DNA. So I don't heat it up, you guys. It's great for mayonnaise. It's great for the occasional cooking, maybe, if you're wanting to risk it. I just personally don't. I just use it cold. The other thing about avocado oil is it's a lot like olive oil, where a lot of manufacturers will mix it with different oils that are not so good, like canola oil and other cheap vegetable oils that are just junk. And they can still market it and still put the label on as 100% avocado oil or 100% olive oil, even though part of it is not. So that's another danger in buying and using these oils, is you must know your source, just like with lard and tallow. Know who you're buying it from, who makes that. Call them, reach out and email them. If they're not willing to answer your questions, then don't buy their product. Only support people who are willing to stand behind their product and answer whatever questions that you may have of the food that you are feeding your family. So that is avocado oil, guys. And I was going to mention, I love Azure Standard, so I'm going to say it again. Azure Standard sells amazing avocado oil. They know who is picking the avocados. They know who is producing the oils. It is not cut or mixed with any other oils. It's 100% avocado oil. And it is, they sell both cold press refined, which is naturally refined, which we'll talk about in just a second. And they also sell extra virgin, which we're going to talk about next, okay? So Azure Standard, amazing company to order that from. I will leave my link down below. If you've never ordered from Azure Standard and you're considering it, use my link, you guys. It's a way to bless my family with $25 off of my next grocery order for my family, which makes a huge difference in this time, okay? And it doesn't cost you anything. So I will leave that link down below after the live. Okay, so fast forward on to learning what a virgin oil is and what a refined oil is. So a virgin oil is made by pressing the flesh of any fruit. So you're talking fruit like avocado, fruit like an olive, and then spinning it. And when you spin it really, really fast, all of the oil comes out. And then that's what they use. And that would be the purest form. That would be considered a extra virgin, expeller pressed type scenario. So that is going to taste still. It'll have like a little mild flavor of avocado. It's going to be green. It's going to be much like avocado that you would just go to the store and buy and press all the juice out yourself. That's what that's going to look like. The next level, let's see, it's not heated or refined. It contains all of the minerals and all the enzymes. And you do not want to cook with that, because it's going to just destroy the enzymes and the minerals that you were trying to preserve, okay? So then the next level would be refined. Refined avocado oil, or refined oils in general. This is made by filtering out the oil that's already been extracted in the first stage, which would be extra virgin. And then they remove the impurities in the pulp. A lot of times they will use chemicals to do a lot of this, so it will remove the color, the flavor, and the smell of the original avocado in this case, or olive. And this can be used for cooking. The only problem is that a lot of those chemicals that they use are things that are not good to put in our bodies, and it's actually in the oil when they refine it. So you're going to want to look for a company that makes oils that are refined naturally. So once again, Azure Standard does that. They have it right, all the information right on their website. You can read through the entire paragraph. If you scroll down underneath the oils, and they describe exactly in there how they do it. They use low heat. It's actually the same heat that they use to do the extra virgin, and they use no chemicals when they refine their oils. So very good source. Let's see, the other thing I was going to say is when it comes to the refined stuff, they can actually use rotten and damaged fruit too when they use that. So obviously you guys can understand why that might not be optimal for health. So just make sure you know your source, just like we talked about with the lard and the tallow. The natural refinement process, it spins it like we just talked about. It warms it up between 45 and 55 degrees Celsius, which is somewhere between 113 and 117 degrees, or 122, sorry, degrees Fahrenheit, which is the same temperature as when they make the virgin oils, okay? So So that's a good temperature range. It's a safe temperature range, and it still retains all of the yummy stuff in it, okay? So then coconut oil follows those same rules, you guys. Coconut oil comes in expeller pressed, virgin, and expeller pressed. So, I'll turn off my beans. Expeller pressed virgin would be the one that they expressed with no heat whatsoever. They just spun it out and collected the oil that came out of it. It's going to taste like a coconut. It's going to smell like a coconut. And I typically use that stuff for like natural remedies. Like if I have a rash or something, I'm rubbing it on my skin, or if I'm taking coconut oil orally for some reason in my body, I use the expeller pressed virgin coconut oil. Whereas if I'm going to be cooking, I use the expeller pressed, not virgin coconut oil. That has been filtered and it has been refined, quote unquote. And it's been refined naturally, optimally, so that it has all the good stuff still in it, but it is for cooking. It's not going to give my dishes a coconut oil taste. It's just going to be a healthy fat to cook with, and I'm not destroying anything within the oil while I cook with it, okay? And once again, Azure Standard wins out on this one so far. I haven't shopped anywhere else, obviously, but Azure Standard does the natural process on 100% of all their oils they sell online underneath the Azure Standard brand. So, let me see if I hit everything. Hang on. I love my notebooks. For those of you guys who know me locally, you know I've got notebooks all over my house. If you guys have any questions, put them down below while I check my notes. I want to grab my coconut oil in just a second. This is the stuff I use for cooking from Azure Standard. It comes in a gallon. It's only like $21 and some pennies. So definitely economical. It's expeller pressed, and it doesn't smell like a coconut. It doesn't taste like a coconut, and you can use it on all sorts of recipes. With baking and everything else. So obviously, like spray aerosol, non-stick type sprays for baking are a big no-no. I haven't found one anyway that has a healthy fat in it because it would be a semi-solid at room temperature. If you know of one, comment down below. But avocado oil, obviously we just talked about that. Olive oil, that's another no-no. Canola, we don't even talk about canolas and stuff because those all fall into the vegetable oil category, which are all polyunsaturated fats. So those are all the angry, very, very angry filled atoms. So it's not something you want to be cooking with or spraying on your pans so they don't stick. So just get some lard or something and get it on your hands and wipe it all over your dishes and deal with happy atoms instead of angry ones. And if you didn't take notes and you go back and watch my video again, but a lot of the information is already in this book here. Starts on page, let me see. I also went online for like the India studies on the damage to DNA with avocado oil that's been cooked. I'm going to give you a page number because I know a lot of you guys have it. So it's under the fat section that starts on page, hang on, it's coming. 4. So it's right in the beginning, guys, and it covers all different sorts of fats. But as you go through, and it covers all of the studies that have ever been done on consuming fats. And how, and watch my words, how certain people are telling us that fats are really bad for us and that that's what's causing heart disease, when in fact, heart disease was not rampant until we cut out fats and we switched over to vegetable oils and all unhealthy fats for cooking and consumption. And that's when everything took off. If you think about it, there are a lot of other countries around this world that have much lower heart diseases, and heart disease rates that consume a ton of fat, you guys. It's the way that our ancestors used to eat. If you think about it, cavemen were not like, oh, let's go out and harvest canola. Let's make our own vegetable oil, and then we can poison ourselves with it. No, that didn't happen. They were using the fat off of the animals that they had claimed that day for their family or that week for their family, and they were using that to cook with, and they were consuming that as their energy and their lifeblood of their body. It's how they fueled themselves. They didn't have canola fields. They didn't have soybean fields. They didn't have, they didn't have any of that, you guys. Okay, they had animal fats. It's the way that they ate. It was the way they survived. It's what kept them warm. It's what kept fat on their bones and kept the warriors strong, was that healthy, healthy fat. Okay, Jackie says, over a year ago on mainstream TV, they said that Cheerios was the highest in glyphosate. Yes, it is. Too bad many toddlers were given Cheerios as snack food. Yes. Glyphosate, which is Roundup, in case anyone's watching and doesn't know what that is, glyphosate is another name for Roundup. And I think they renamed it something else this year. If you know the name of that, put it down below. They renamed Roundup when all of these lawsuits started coming out. Because, you know, when people hear a name with a lawsuit, nobody wants to eat it anymore or use it in their fields. So basically, yeah, they're actually able to take these food products that we're consuming that are non-GMO or even not non-GMO, and they're actually able to take like Cheerios, kids cereal, and test it and actually come up with glyphosate in the cereal that you're eating. So it's definitely a problem, guys. It's a huge problem. It's a crazy world out there. That's for darn sure. And the other problem I have with Cheerios being given to toddlers, and I didn't learn this until much later in my mommyhood, is that children should not be given grains before the age of, I think it's 2, if I remember right. I'm going to have to research that one again. I believe it's 2. And the reason why is because their systems aren't producing the right things to properly break down grains. And so it's actually like being flagged. Every time they get grains, it's getting flagged as a foreign body. The body has no idea how to handle that. It's not being broken down, and so it's this foreign body moving through the gut. And that's one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why we have such bad gluten intolerance, wheat, all that sort of thing. All these different intolerances that deal with grain is because we're giving them to our children way too early. Think about baby cereals, you guys. What are the baby cereals? Rice, wheat, right? Think about it. It's all grain, and a lot of people grew up and their mamas told them to put some stuff into like a bottle so the baby will sleep all night. So they are putting rice cereal inside the bottle to feed the baby up. So you have to think about that. Like, when does this all start? When does all of the grain start with our kids? And it's way too early. If it's, I'm pretty darn sure it's 2 years old when they can start to actually fully digest and utilize grains without a problem. That is why when you feed your little toddler that's 1.5 years corn, it comes through the other end as a solid and you have a diaper full of corn. That is why, guys. Corn is a grain. And so that is a problem. So anyway, yes, it goes way beyond that. So we've got glyphosate on a ton of stuff, but especially grain items, because like I said, they are spraying right before they are harvesting, and then that grain is not getting rinsed before it's going into the food supply. I'm not really sure who decided that was a good idea, but it wasn't me for sure. I'll tell you that much. Not only the body. Oh, hey, Alexis, you're here. You'll have to go back and watch. We just finished talking about avocado oil, expeller pressed oils, virgin oils, coconut oil, sourcing lard and tallow. What else? You missed a lot, Alexis. Hang on. Natural refinement versus refined versus expeller pressed, and then happy saturated fats that have their marriage partner, monosaturated fats that are partially angry because they don't have their partner, and polyunsaturated fats that have no partners and are really pissed. So if you want to learn about all of that, Alexis, you'll have to go back and watch the live. Carl says, not only the body system, but think about the teeth they have for the food given. Exactly. Cavities are horrible too, you guys. And if you think about it, we have all of these children that their teeth are rotting out. Their baby teeth are rotting out. And if you think about what they're being fed, it's high sugar and it's high grains that are not properly prepared. Hamburger Helper, those noodles are not properly prepared. All the noodles you buy down the noodle aisle are not properly prepared. Cereals are not properly prepared. This is just crackers. Think about everything everyone gives their toddlers the second they can eat, and it's all grains. So not only is it hard on the body, but it's hard on the teeth because those grains are not properly prepared. When you start thinking about this, you guys, your mind just goes kaboom. And it's no wonder that all of our children are so sick, you guys. It is no coincidence. It is absolutely no coincidence. Their diets are filled with a ton of grains that are unproperly prepared and that are sprayed with glyphosate and sugar. Of course we're going to be sick. Of course we are. Okay, Alexa says, I will. Oh man, I missed it. I was spending time with my grandma. Oh, I don't have any grandmas left, so good for you, Alexa. Alexis, I mean. I will definitely go back and watch it. Okay, Rhonda says, are all farms from Weston A. Price grass-fed? So the way Weston A. Price works is if you reach out to your local chapter, they will have a list of all of the local farms that sell like eggs and meat and all that sort of thing. And then it should say on there that, like, let's say this specific farm is grass-fed, organic, certified organic, and maybe there's another farm where next to it will say grass-fed but not certified, and there may even be another farm that says just grass-fed but grain finished. So Weston A. Price, if you become a member, which is only $40 a year, you guys, they send you out 4 quarterly journals a year, which are journals that are packed with the latest science on food and healing and all sorts of things. They're totally worth the $40. But then on top of that, they also send you a shopping guide. Inside that shopping guide, it has different tiers. It has like better, good, better, and best. And so if you can't afford the best, you can't afford grass-fed, you could come down a tier, and they have all of, on each tier, they have each category. So meats, dairy, blah, 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 in this big shopping guide. I mean, it's small, it fits inside your purse, but it's thick, okay? And under each category, they have the names of the actual producers that make the food on that specific level. So you could go to your local grocery and bring out your shopping guide and say, okay, I'm looking for that name of that farm that produces the cheese. And then when you're standing in your health food section, you can easily find it. And if you can't, usually they have a number right next to it that you can call the company and ask where they distribute their products or where can you find their products. So I think it's just about remembering that not all of us can afford organic food or grass-fed food. And so you have to be able to pay for whatever you can afford, obviously. But it's about, the Weston A. Price Foundation is very, very enthusiastic and helpful when it comes to passionate, that was the word I was looking for. They're very, very passionate about linking people up with healthy food. So they go beyond just putting out cookbooks and recommending what you should eat. They're trying to help you find what to eat. I'm looking at my lamb out here, guys. Speaking of eating something. He's going in the freezer. Anyway, he's got a couple more months of his joyous life first. But anyway, yes. So that is an optimal resource to link up with to find grass-fed beef near you, or pastured chicken, or pastured pork, eggs, all the stuff that we talk about here, lard, tallow. Linking up with your local Weston A. Price chapter is really important. And if you don't have one of those, that makes it really hard. There are other websites that you can link up with. I know, like, our specific area on Facebook has its own for the whole state meat producers. So if you're on Facebook, you could get on and type in meat producers of whatever state you're in, and then you can do a in search of ad, and then just ask the appropriate questions. So when you're looking into beef, it's, what were the beef fed? Okay, so they were fed grass. Were they fed grass hay, or were they fed like grass, like they're out on pasture eating grass, converting the sun, all that sort of thing. What level is that? And then once you figure out what level it is and find out how expensive it is, maybe you have to drop down to just grass-fed that maybe was fed hay, or maybe grass-fed that was then grain finished with like organic corn or something. The thing that I realized you have to be kind of careful about is that sometimes when you're talking to a farmer about whether or not their cattle are non-GMO, they don't understand that when they feed, at least in this area they don't, that when they have a pastured cow that then comes in and gets fed corn that is regular field corn from GMO crops, they don't understand how that gets into the meat, and then now their cow is considered genetically modified because it has glyphosate and everything else that GMOs do to an animal. So just make sure that you know what questions to ask. Make sure that you know, and don't be afraid to ask them. And if they want to sell their meat, they will answer your questions. They will talk to you as long as you need. And just make sure you ask the questions that you need to know. Okay, Rhonda, also, what is the name of the book? So this is called Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon. It's a very, very thick cookbook, Rhonda. Do not be overwhelmed, okay? A lot of what's into this book is information, okay? So Sally Fallon is the president of the West Foundation, and this book is full of a wealth of knowledge, and basically every section that starts out in this book, it talks about the why. So I am a person that if you're going to tell me to do something, then you better back it up. You better have resources for me to look into myself to prove that what you're stating is correct, okay? I'm very much a Berean, and it's not just having to do with the Bible. I want to look into everything you're stating to make sure that you are stating and trying to convince me of something that's actually true. I think our society does not do enough of that, and that's why we're in the mess we're in. But this book is full of resources, okay? It's full of resources, and it's full of information about different meat types. There's a whole section on fermenting. They have a ton of fermenting recipes. And then in the very back, they have all of their resources listed out. So if you want to go and look it up for yourself, you know, when they're talking about the studies done on fat from all over the world and how Americans are the most unhealthy and consume the least amount of saturated fats, they have all of those studies, guys. They have links to all of them in the back, and all you have to do is look it up on the internet. They're going to show you exactly where to go, but they talk about carbohydrates and vitamins, fats. Let's see what else. Proteins, milk and milk products, and it just talks about, let's see, minerals, enzymes, beverages. Just all sorts of stuff on here. Equipment that you should have in your kitchen if you're just starting out cooking. I honestly, I love Sally Fallon. I do. And if Sally, you're ever watching my videos, I love you. You're awesome. I've met you in person, and you're very humble, and you're the most amazing person to be around. But confessions, I have rarely ever cooked out of this cookbook. There's nothing wrong with her recipes. There isn't, you guys. But I grew up on processed foods, so to me, it's a challenge that I love to have, to take a regular recipe and totally alter it so now it's nourishing for my family. And it's like my Cheez-It video. I have a video up here on how to make your own homemade Cheez-Its. And my kids have never had store-bought Cheez-Its, ever. So they didn't even know what a Cheez-It was. And it was hilarious because today we were eating empanadas today for lunch. And the cheese had like melted outside the empanada, and it was crunchy. And Nevaeh took a bite of it, and she's like, oh my gosh, this tastes just like a Cheez-It. And I just had to laugh because my kids only know my Cheez-Its. But that's just one example of, I want my kids to eat somewhat normal in the society foods, but made in a nourishing way. So they can say, I know what a Cheez-It tastes like. It's a cheese cracker. Instead of having a conversation with their friends, and their friends are like, oh, Cheez-Its. Okay, what's that? My kids will know what a Cheez-It is. Now, I have never made Pop-Tarts or any of the other stuff. We typically lean more towards the nourishing stuff, but yeah, I just wanted them to taste a little bit and know this is what a cheese cracker tastes like, and they call it Cheez-Its out in this big world. But anyway, she has tons of really good recipes in here, you guys. She does. She's got all sorts of stuff for spaghetti squash and carrots, stuff to use up your garden harvests. Lots of good recipes. And I think Amazon has this for around $20 to $25 for the book, or if you look at like abebooks.com or thriftbooks.com, both great places to buy this. You can get it for under $20, and it's totally worth it. It's an amazing resource, and I always think everybody should have it. It has a whole bunch of recipes for salad dressings and marinades and hors d'oeuvres, soups, all sorts of stuff, main course stuff. Whole grains, and it talks about what I'm teaching you here, which is how to properly prepare every single one of these meals. So if it has black beans in it, she's going to talk about soaking. I don't know if she quite talks about fermenting the beans. There may be a couple of Hispanic recipes in this cookbook that talk about fermenting. The fermenting of the beans was something that I started doing because we were coming off of the GAPS diet, and it was in one of the GAPS books where I talked about when you start introducing the white navy beans, that you should ferment them because it goes a lot easier. And we just like the results so much that I've just carried that tradition on with my family, because I figure if I'm going to soak them, then it's not that much more work to go ahead and ferment them. And if it makes you fart a lot less and it makes those beans more bioavailable, and that's great. If it's doubling the nutrients in those beans, I'd rather have more nutrients in my food that I'm paying for and spend the extra time to ferment them than just soak them. But she's got a ton. She's got snack stuff in here, sweets for kids in all ages, pies and cakes, gourmet desserts. She's got all sorts of stuff. And then in the very, very back, she does have a section on feeding babies. But if you're a mom or someone who's going to be pregnant or going to be having a baby, you want to get the purple version of this book. And I don't remember what it's called. It's purple, though, and it's not called Nourishing Traditions. It's like Nourishing Your Family or something. But that purple book has a ton of information in there. It helps you decide all sorts of things, from everything in pregnancy that they offer you to drink, take, or do, to everything they drink or offer for your baby to take, drink, and do after birth. And then it covers all the childhood illnesses, if you guys know what I mean, and what to do. And it's just a great, great resource. I just don't remember the name of it. It's a purple book, and it looks a lot like this one. Jackie, do you know what the name of that book is? If you do, put it down below. Nourishing, I don't know. Anyway, I know Amazon has both. So if you look up this one, usually the purple one comes up below it. And then you can take that information and go to your used book sites and see if you can find it used. But that is an amazing resource. I'm hoping I still have mine. I think it's on my bookshelf somewhere. I did lend it out to a friend for a short while and was anxious to get it back, so I'm pretty sure I have it back. But anyway, those are two books I would definitely have on hand, especially this one. If you don't have children, this one is a must. And if you have children, both of them, I would get both of them. Yeah, just an amazing resource. Really, really good book. Does anybody have any other questions that deal with anything? Okay, Rhonda says, LOL, thank you, and wow. It's got a ton of stuff. That's a huge cookbook. It's like that thick. So don't let it overwhelm you. Like the first quarter of the book is all information as to why you want to source good foods that are healthier for you. Of course, she doesn't use, marriage words, like I do, and, happy couples and angry singles. So, but it is very nice. She lays it all out there for you. And if you want to go deeper, there's the resources for you to go deeper. So that's that. All right. Anybody else have any other questions that we should talk about? I'm super excited, guys. Thursday is that live class. And if you have not scrolled down, the live class is about meal planning for a family. And like I said, I took 7 of my recipes, and all 7 of them are right here on the channel. I took 7 of my recipes, just randomly picked them, and I ran grocery amount totals on every single one. I ran the first one as 100% non-organic, the next one as 50% organic, buying it from Walmart. And then the last one, substituting wherever I could save money from Azure Standard and buying 100% organic. Then I also ran all of the meals as 100% processed foods. If someone does not know how to cook and they're going to the store and they're buying processed foods, like as in already made up waffles, already made up pancakes, all of that sort of thing, I ran the numbers on every single one. And as I said in my short little video, the processed food, 100% processed food, is actually more expensive than purchasing 50% organic food and cooking them all from scratch. So if you guys are interested in that class, that's this Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I already pre-scheduled it, so you guys know how to go to that. Just after I get off this video with you, just scroll down and then click on the pre-scheduled event. You'll see it right there. And then just click Remind Me, and it'll send you a little notification that we've gone live, so you don't forget, because I will be answering whatever questions you guys have. And if you guys want to write down questions you have about meal planning and budgeting and all of this stuff beforehand and be ready to ask them, that's great. We're going to be live, so you guys can ask whatever questions you need to ask, and we'll cover whatever we need to cover. I think this is a really important topic, especially today with food prices the way they are and families struggling. What? Are you thirsty? Okay. Come here. Anyway, I think that with today, with the way food prices are and families are struggling, it's really important to remember that processed foods are not cheaper. So if you know a friend who has been avoiding organic food or food from scratch, invite them to the meeting on Thursday, guys. I'd like to show them my numbers. I'd like the opportunity to show them my numbers so that people realize it's not that much different in a budget and how to budget and how to pick out meals. And like I said, all the 7 meals I picked out were all here from the channel. So it'd be totally easy to take my lists and jump on the channel and make dinner with me. So if you guys know somebody who would benefit from that information, have them come on the live on Thursday night at 7 o'clock, okay? I think he's tired. He didn't get a nap. Anyway, anybody else have any other questions? No. Okay, you don't have to go over there. That's fine. You want to go down? You don't want them to see you? No. You're awfully cute. And if you guys missed any portion of this, we already made dinner. It was super, super fast. It was garlic butter pork chops, but I cut them into bites so they cook faster. It's ready to go for kids. And that was done really quickly. And then we covered the recipe for next week, which is empanadas. And then we talked about oils. So if you missed any of it and you're just now jumping on, go back and watch. There's a ton of information in this video. You ready to go? You ready to eat? Are you hungry? I'm hungry. All right, guys. Thanks for jumping on. And I will see you guys I'll see you guys on Thursday for sure. For those of you guys coming. Oh, here we go. Carl says Nourishing Traditions Baby and Childcare. It is called Nourishing Traditions. Thank you, Carl. So that's the name of that purple book that if you have children, you're planning on having children, you want to own that book as well. It's called Nourishing Traditions Baby and Childcare. Okay. So that's that. So I'll see you guys either Thursday night for the budgeting and food class, or I'll see you guys next Tuesday, okay? All right, take care. See you guys in the next one.